Disrespect rarely appears in its most obvious form. Most of the time, it hides in small gestures: the dismissive glance, the sarcastic remark disguised as humor, the subtle interruption that signals your voice does not matter. At other times, it is brutal and direct: an insult in public, a betrayal of trust, or even an attempt to humiliate you in front of others. The danger of disrespect is not only in the wound it creates in the moment, but in the way it slowly convinces you to shrink, to question yourself, to believe that your worth depends on the approval of those who refuse to offer it. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius prepared himself each morning with the reminder that he would meet people who were arrogant, ungrateful, or deceitful. He did not see this as an accident, but as part of the natural fabric of life. People will disrespect you, not once but many times. What matters is not their behavior, but your response. If you allow their words or actions to dominate your mind, you give away the only true power you possess: sovereignty over yourself. Think about your own experience. How many times have you walked away from a conversation, replaying every comment, feeling the sting of being dismissed or ridiculed? How often have you felt the need to explain yourself endlessly, as if your life required the permission of others to be valid? This is how disrespect spreads. It takes root in your mind and multiplies through your reactions. The Stoic path, however, offers a different way. It teaches us that dignity is not borrowed, but chosen. No insult, no betrayal, no act of contempt can strip you of worth unless you hand it over willingly. In this exploration, we will uncover the 5 levels of disrespectful people, from the subtle dismissers to the direct offenders, and examine how Stoic wisdom provides the shield against each of them. By the end, you will see that the problem is not living among those who disrespect you, that is inevitable, but learning how to remain unshaken, calm, and dignified in their presence. Disrespect will test you, but it never has to define you. Level 1, the subtle dismissers. The first level of disrespect is rarely loud. It does not shout, it does not insult, it does not humiliate directly. Instead, it arrives quietly, in gestures so small that many people fail to recognize them until the damage is done. These are the subtle dismissers, the ones who interrupt you mid-sentence, who nod without listening, who brush aside your ideas as if they were unworthy of attention. They may not openly oppose you, but they consistently treat your presence as optional, your words as disposable. The danger here lies in accumulation. A single interruption may not matter. A single dismissive glance may not linger. But repeated often, these small cuts teach you a dangerous lesson: that your voice carries no weight. Slowly, you may find yourself speaking less, doubting your ideas before they leave your lips, shrinking into silence not because you lack thoughts, but because you expect they will be ignored. This is how subtle disrespect erodes confidence, not through one blow, but through the steady erosion of dignity. The Stoics warned of this psychological trap. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know what is good. In other words, the worth of your voice is not measured by the attention it receives, but by the truth it carries. If you allow subtle dismissers to dictate your sense of value, you abandon your inner compass and surrender to their indifference. Epictetus, once a slave, understood this better than most. He taught his students to separate the external, how others receive you, from the internal, how you choose to act and speak. If your words come from reason, from principle, then their dismissal does not diminish them. Still, we must admit, subtle disrespect stings precisely because it is so easy to internalize. A joke ignored, an idea brushed aside. Our instinct is to wonder, maybe I wasn't clear, maybe I wasn't good enough. The Stoic shield here is clarity. Seneca advised, a man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary. Much of the pain caused by subtle dismissers comes not from their act, but from the story we tell ourselves afterward. We replay, reinterpret, and inject meaning where there may be none. The Stoic discipline is to pause and ask, is this really about me, or is it about their inattentiveness, their arrogance, their distraction? Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine a meeting where you present a thoughtful idea. Our colleague cuts you off, pivots the discussion, and your contribution evaporates. In the moment, you feel invisible. But here lies the choice. You can leave that room convinced your idea was worthless, or you can see it for what it is. An act of disrespect that says more about them than about you. If the idea is good, it remains good, whether acknowledged or not. Your task is not to beg for recognition, but to stand by the integrity of your thought. What then does the Stoic response look like in practice? First, presence without apology. When interrupted, do not shrink back. Pause, reclaim your space, and calmly finish your thought. This is not aggression, it is quiet assertion. Second, inner independence. Remind yourself that external recognition does not determine internal worth. Your value lies in aligning action with principle, not in applause. Third, measured distance. If someone consistently dismisses you, adjust the weight you give to their opinion. Do not let repeat offenders rent space in your mind. I once knew someone who mastered this Stoic response. In professional discussions, they were often overlooked, soft-spoken, surrounded by louder personalities. But instead of withdrawing, they cultivated composure. When interrupted, they would wait, then calmly say, "Let me complete my point." No anger, no defensiveness, just quiet persistence. Over time, their steadiness commanded respect, not because others suddenly became more considerate, but because they refused to let dismissal define them. The lesson here is profound. Subtle dismissers can only rob you if you hand them the keys. Their power lies not in the interruption itself, but in the way you interpret it. If you believe their silence equals your worthlessness, you shrink. But if you believe, as the Stoics did, that your worth is measured by your reason and virtue, then their dismissal is nothing but noise. The first level of disrespect is dangerous precisely because it feels ordinary. It hides under the cover of busyness, personality, or casual habit. Yet its effect on the human spirit is real. To face it, you must cultivate what Marcus Aurelius called self-reverence, the quiet conviction that your dignity does not depend on others noticing it. In a world full of dismissers, to speak calmly and persistently without apology is a radical act of self-respect. Level 2, the passive-aggressive critics. If subtle dismissers wound through silence, passive-aggressive critics strike with words disguised as jokes. They rarely confront directly. Instead, they wrap their disrespect in humor, irony, or false concern. "Oh, you're trying that again? Brave of you. Wow, that presentation was creative. Don't take it so seriously, I was just joking." At first glance, these comments may seem harmless, even playful, but over time their sting accumulates because the target is not the content, it is your dignity. The danger of passive-aggressive critics lies in their plausible deniability. When you react, they retreat. "Relax, I didn't mean it that way." You are left questioning yourself. Were you too sensitive, or were they truly undermining you? This constant cycle corrodes confidence because it blurs the line between humor and hostility. The Stoics, however, had a clear perspective. An insult is still an insult, no matter how it is dressed. Seneca wrote that, "It is not the man who reviles you that injures you, but your opinion that these things are reviling." In other words, the harm is not in the words, but in the meaning you attach to them. But here's the paradox. Dismissing their words entirely is difficult because the tone is ambiguous. Passive-aggressive disrespect plays on your desire for harmony. You do not want to seem humorless, nor do you want to escalate small jabs into conflict, and so many endure the constant drip of sarcastic remarks, slowly internalizing them until they become doubts about one's own worth. This is precisely why Stoic clarity is necessary. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, the opinion of others should not disturb your peace, for it belongs to them, not to you. Imagine being in a group where every contribution you make is followed by a smirk or a joke at your expense. If you laugh along, you feel complicit in your own diminishment. If you object, you risk being called uptight. This is the trap passive-aggressive critics set. They place you in a no-win situation. But the Stoic response dismantles the trap entirely. You are not obligated to dance between laughter and anger. You can remain calm, detached, and indifferent, recognizing that their words reflect their own pettiness, not your value. I once observed someone embody this Stoic response. A colleague was the constant target of sarcastic remarks. Rather than snapping back or sulking, he responded with simple neutrality. When told, "Well, that idea is certainly unique," he replied calmly, "Yes, it is," and continued. No defensiveness, no need to prove himself, just quiet composure. Over time, the critic's sarcasm lost its edge because it no longer provoked the reaction it sought. The Stoics would call this apatheia, freedom from being ruled by external jabs. Still, indifference is not passivity. To ignore every sarcastic jab without discernment can lead to erosion of boundaries. The Stoic approach is balance. Epictetus taught that while others may speak falsely, it is your choice whether to engage. If a comment truly undermines your dignity in a setting where silence might be read as weakness, you can respond, not with anger, but with clarity. A simple, "I'll take that as your opinion," or "I'd like to finish my thought," asserts presence without hostility. The key is never to surrender control of your emotions. Passive-aggressive critics thrive on reaction. They want either your laughter that validates them or your anger that exposes you. When you choose the middle path, calm, steady, untouched, you deny them both victories. Their words become what Marcus Aurelius called sound and smoke, noise without substance. The danger of this second level of disrespect is that it disguises itself as humor, making it easier for others to excuse and harder for you to confront. Yet its impact on the spirit can be profound, planting seeds of doubt and resentment that grow silently. The Stoic remedy is to see clearly. Humor that diminishes is not humor, it is hostility in costume. You are not obligated to absorb it. Your task is not to retaliate, but to stand firm in your worth, refusing to let sarcasm rewrite your sense of self. The passive-aggressive critic reveals a universal Stoic truth. Disrespect only gains power through our consent. If you refuse to internalize their sarcasm, you strip it of its poison. They may continue to joke, but the sting disappears, for it finds no home within you. If you get into here, comment, "I won't be disrespected." So next time you see someone disrespect you, you won't put your head down and accept it. You will stand up for yourself. Now, let's continue. Level 3, the public underminers. There is a form of disrespect more corrosive than subtle dismissal or passive sarcasm, the deliberate attempt to discredit you in front of others. Public underminers thrive on exposure. Their intent is not simply to diminish your confidence in private, but to strike your reputation in open spaces, meetings, gatherings, classrooms, or any forum where the social hierarchy is visible. Their weapon is not silence or irony, but spectacle. By questioning you publicly, by exaggerating your flaws, or by ridiculing your contributions, they seek to elevate themselves at your expense. The danger of public underminers lies in the psychological weight of reputation. Human beings are deeply social. We derive identity not only from private conviction, but also from our place within the group. To be publicly disrespected is to feel stripped of dignity in the eyes of others, even if the attack is baseless. Marcus Aurelius anticipated this struggle. He reminded himself that external dishonor does not touch the inner self. If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. Yet in practice, the sting of public humiliation is difficult to ignore. Consider a workplace scenario. You present an idea, only for a colleague to interject with a mocking remark. "We tried that before. Remember how badly it failed." The audience laughs, not necessarily out of malice, but because laughter is easier than silence. In that moment, your authority seems diminished, your credibility questioned. This is the precise effect public underminers seek. Their power derives from the stage, not the substance. They rely on group dynamics to magnify their attack. The Stoic response begins with composure. Epictetus taught that when insulted, one must not respond with immediate anger, for anger is the admission that the words have penetrated. Instead, the disciplined individual holds steady, refusing to mirror the aggressor's volatility. By maintaining equanimity, You reclaim the higher ground. A calm reply, or even silence, can be more powerful than 100 words of defense, because it demonstrates sovereignty over your own emotions. Yet Stoicism does not advocate passivity in the face of repeated public attacks. There are moments when dignity requires response. The key is proportion. Rather than counterattacking with equal disrespect, the Stoic chooses precision, a measured clarification, a firm redirection, or a simple acknowledgement of truth without embellishment. For example, if challenged unfairly in front of others, a calm statement, "That is one perspective, but let me explain my reasoning," asserts authority without descending into hostility. This approach denies the underminer the reaction they seek, while reinforcing your credibility in the eyes of the audience. The deeper lesson is that reputation, though socially important, is never absolute. Seneca noted that public opinion is fickle, easily swayed by spectacle. To anchor your self-worth in it is to place your peace in fragile hands. The Stoic reframes reputation as an external good, useful if preserved, but not essential to virtue. If public disrespect wounds your pride, examine the source of pain. It is not the insult itself, but your dependence on others' perception. However, acknowledging this truth does not erase the tactical challenge of underminers. Left unchecked, they may corrode authority in professional or social settings. The Stoic solution is a dual strategy: inner detachment combined with outer firmness. Internally, remind yourself that no words can alter your character. Externally, set boundaries. Make it clear through calm consistency that public disrespect will not succeed in destabilizing you. Over time, this steadiness diminishes their power, for underminers feed on visible reaction. The third level of disrespect is thus a pivotal test. It forces the confrontation between private conviction and public image. The Stoic path requires discipline, to care enough about reputation to guard it through virtuous conduct, but not so much that its loss destroys your peace. When underminers attempt to strip you of dignity before others, remember that their attack reveals their character, not yours. You remain sovereign if you refuse to let their performance dictate your worth. In the end, public disrespect is a stage play, and the underminer's strength lies only in your participation. Withdraw from the drama. Stand calm, firm, and unshaken, and their spectacle collapses under its own emptiness. If you are enjoying the content, like and subscribe to become better in finding and avoiding those people. Level 4. The confidence betrayers. Among all forms of disrespect, few cut deeper than betrayal. While subtle dismissers and passive-aggressive critics wound your confidence, and public underminers strike at your reputation, the betrayers of trust violate something even more sacred: the bond of intimacy. These are the people who listen closely to your words, accept your secrets, and then use them as weapons. They share what was meant to be private. They distort what was said in confidence. They expose your vulnerability not to protect you, but to weaken you. The pain here is unique because it is personal. Disrespect in public can be endured with the shield of composure. Sarcasm can be dismissed as pettiness. But when someone betrays trust, the injury goes beyond words. It shakes your ability to feel safe with others. What once was sacred becomes polluted. A friend who repeats your weakness to strangers does more than disrespect you. They convince you that intimacy itself is dangerous. The Stoics recognized this risk clearly. Seneca wrote that betrayal of trust makes both parties suffer, the victim through loss of confidence and the betrayer through corruption of character. For the Stoic, trust is part of human cooperation. Our natural design is to live in community. When trust is broken, the natural order is violated. Yet the Stoic response is not bitterness, but clarity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, when another wrongs you, it is because he does not know what is good or what is right. You still know. Do not become like him. Here lies the challenge. Betrayal tempts you to withdraw entirely. After being exposed or misrepresented, the instinct is to close your heart, to guard every word, to treat everyone as a potential enemy. But this is poison disguised as protection. If you lose the ability to trust anyone, you lose your nature as a social being. Epictetus warned against this retreat. When you shut yourself off completely, you deny your duty to mankind. The goal is not to abandon trust, but to refine it. You forgive the wound for your own peace, but you do not forget the lesson. I recall a vivid example. Someone confided in a close colleague about doubts in a project, speaking honestly in a moment of vulnerability. Weeks later, those same doubts were repeated in a larger meeting, reframed as evidence of incompetence. The shock was not only in the exposure, but in realizing the betrayal came from someone believed to be an ally. The wound was personal, and for a time it silenced openness. But the eventual Stoic response was clear. Bitterness was useless. The betrayal revealed not the weakness of the one who confided, but the corruption of the one who betrayed. The practice of Stoicism here demands balance. First, release anger. Holding resentment keeps you chained to the betrayer. As Seneca observed, anger punishes itself before it punishes others. Second, remember wisely. Forgiveness is not amnesia. The scar must remain as a teacher. Betrayal once may be accident. Betrayal twice is negligence on your part. Third, redirect trust. Do not abandon openness entirely. Instead, place your confidence in those who have proven worthy through consistency, integrity, and action. There is also a hidden gift in betrayal. It clarifies. It forces you to see who truly stands beside you. Many will smile, many will flatter, but only few will guard your secrets as fiercely as their own. Betrayal separates the mask from the face. For the Stoic, this is not tragedy but revelation. Marcus Aurelius would urge gratitude for clarity, even if it comes through pain. The greatest danger of confidence betrayers is not what they reveal to others, it is what they destroy within you. They tempt you to live with suspicion, to silence your voice, to abandon intimacy altogether. But the Stoic refuses to let another's corruption dictate the health of their soul. You may be more cautious, yes, but you do not let betrayal turn you bitter. As Epictetus insisted, no man can harm you without your consent. The wound is real, but how long it festers depends on your judgment. The fourth level of disrespect is therefore a turning point. It forces you to decide whether you will allow betrayal to close your heart or refine your discernment. The Stoic path is clear. Forgive to free yourself, remember to protect yourself, and continue to trust selectively so that your humanity remains intact. Betrayal reveals the weakness of others, but your response can reveal your strength. Level 5. The direct offenders. The final and most brutal form of disrespect strips away disguise. At this level, there is no subtle dismissal, no sarcasm wrapped in humor, no betrayal hiding in shadows. Direct offenders strike openly. They insult, mock, humiliate, and attempt to control you through aggression. They thrive not on ambiguity, but on confrontation. Their message is clear: I do not value you, and I want everyone to know it. Unlike earlier levels, which corrode slowly, direct disrespect wounds immediately. A public insult, a demeaning command, or a cutting remark can ignite anger in a heartbeat. It is natural to feel the urge to retaliate, to return insult for insult, to prove your strength by meeting aggression with aggression. But this is precisely where the Stoic discipline is most tested. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. To mirror aggression is to surrender control, to let the offender dictate your behavior. For the Stoic, the true victory is to remain sovereign, to respond with dignity even under fire. Consider a scenario. Someone mocks you in front of a group, their words sharp and deliberate. The silence that follows is heavy. All eyes turn to you. This is the crucible. Respond with rage, and you confirm their narrative. Respond with collapse, and you hand them victory. The Stoic path offers a third way, composure. A calm reply, short, measured, without venom, strips their insult of its power. Even silence, chosen deliberately, can be a weapon stronger than words. By refusing to be provoked, you expose their aggression for what it is: noise, smoke, an emptiness that cannot touch your essence. Yet we must not confuse Stoic calm with passivity. To endure endless abuse without boundaries is not strength, but negligence of duty to oneself. Epictetus was clear: while others' actions lie outside our control, Our responsibility is to protect our reason and integrity. Sometimes this means distance. The Stoic response to persistent direct offenders is not endless tolerance but decisive removal from their reach. You cannot always change how they act, but you can choose how much access they have to your life. The key insight here is that aggression often seeks reaction. Direct offenders thrive on the spectacle of your anger. They want to see you lose control because in that moment they hold power. To deny them that satisfaction is to disarm them. Seneca noted that anger is a form of temporary madness. It clouds judgment, enslaves the mind, and leaves regret in its wake. The greatest insult you can deliver to an aggressor is not retaliation, but serenity. I once witnessed this in a professional setting. A manager berated an employee in front of others, words sharp and humiliating. The room froze, waiting for the explosion. Instead, the employee listened silently, then said with steady voice, "I hear your concerns, and I'll address them." Nothing more. No defense, no counterattack. The aggression collapsed into awkwardness, the power of the offender evaporating in the face of unshakable composure. This is the essence of Stoic mastery, to let your calmness reveal their chaos. But let us be honest, sometimes aggression causes real harm. Bullying in schools, hostility in workplaces, abuse in relationships. Here, the Stoic does not advocate passive endurance. Justice is also a virtue. To protect oneself and others from harm is not weakness, but duty. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, and he did not tolerate chaos simply to appear calm. He combined inner composure with external action when necessary. In the same way, when aggression crosses into abuse, the Stoic response is to take firm action, setting boundaries, seeking justice, and walking away when necessary, all without surrendering to hatred. The fifth level of disrespect is therefore the clearest test of sovereignty. Anyone can appear calm when ignored, when teased, when challenged indirectly. But to face direct insult, to feel the sting of words meant to wound and still remain unbroken, that is true strength. Aggressors can target your reputation, your comfort, even your body. But they cannot touch your reasoned choice unless you yield it. In the end, direct offenders reveal the deepest Stoic truth. Dignity is inviolable. It does not depend on the respect of others, but on the discipline of the self. When you master your response, you become untouchable. Their insult remains their burden, their aggression, their weakness, their disrespect, their shame. You walk away whole, calm, and sovereign. Disrespect takes many shapes. Sometimes it arrives quietly, as a subtle dismissal. Other times it disguises itself in sarcasm or hides in betrayal. And sometimes it comes openly in the form of direct aggression. But whether it whispers or shouts, the essence of disrespect is always the same. An attempt to shake your sense of worth, to make you believe that your dignity is in someone else's hands. The Stoics rejected this illusion. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that he would meet the arrogant, the deceitful, the disrespectful. Epictetus insisted that no one can harm your soul unless you give them permission. Seneca warned that anger at others' insults only multiplies your suffering. For all of them, the truth was clear. Disrespect is inevitable, but the surrender of peace is optional. Looking back at the 5 levels, a pattern emerges. The subtle dismissers teach you to doubt your voice. The passive-aggressive critics tempt you to take sarcasm as truth. The public underminers strike at your reputation. The confidence betrayers wound your intimacy, and the direct offenders test your composure with aggression. Each one tries to steal something from you. But none of them can touch what truly belongs to you. Your reason, your virtue, your choice of response. This is the heart of Stoicism, to realize that respect, like admiration or approval, is an external good. It is pleasant to have, but unnecessary for a life of dignity. True strength is not found in controlling how others see you, but in mastering how you see yourself. The Stoic shield is built not of walls around the heart, but of clarity within the mind. So the next time you face disrespect, whether it is subtle or brutal, pause. Ask yourself, am I letting this moment define me, or am I choosing to remain sovereign? Remember that insults, betrayals, and even public humiliation are only noise, unless you allow them to become chains. Your dignity does not live in their words, it lives in your discipline. In the end, disrespectful people will always walk among us, but they do not have to walk within us. The Stoic path is to remain unshaken, to live with calm composure, and to prove by your very steadiness that dignity is not given, it is chosen.